Welcome back. This is Chicken Philosophy. Carl Jung's Black Books, part 44. If you are interested, here's the playlist. You can click there and see all 44. Or if it's the future, perhaps more than 44. And, pick one at random. Or watch this one. Or, if you'd like, start at the beginning. All right, there's that. One thing that we've been forgetting to do is when we were reading the overview in book 1, it started talking about, at one point it was talking about Carl Jung developing his own sort of runes. And so that prompted me to decide to pull a rune at the beginning of each episode. And I think we've gone at least 2 Carl Jung episodes without pulling a rune. So I will go ahead and pull one. It's never the same rune twice because it goes into a different place after I pulled it. And let's see what we've got. This one here. I'll go ahead and stick that right up at the top. Real nice. Like that. Nice and blurry. And, it doesn't like to focus on when I put the rune there. Anyway, and then since I don't really know runes very well, I will go ahead and read about it. It says here, possessions. That is the same one, right? No. It says here, signals, not possessions. And the old name is Ansuz. Ansuz is the name of this rune, and it means signals. And let's get a little more information about that, shall we? Signals. The Norse god Loki. Okay, this is going to be a fun one, I can already tell you, because the idea here is that, see, Jung is commonly used to lend an air of semi-credibility to things that are generally considered woo-woo. So I spent a long time learning how to perhaps abuse Jung's terminology in order to justify things like runes and tarot and things like that. Because you see, subconsciously, we're all connected to the collective unconscious, and therefore, on an unconscious level, we all know the answer to whatever question you could possibly ask. And so when we introduce an element like randomity, as in the shuffling of cards, and if I'm not mistaken, when you shuffle, especially a deck like a tarot deck, if it's a 52 card deck, if you shuffle that deck, you end up with a different order of cards than probably has ever existed in any deck of cards. Not only that, but the randomity introduced creates a greater number of possible arrangements of the cards than there are, I believe, stars in the galaxy. I think it's safe to say. It might be something like molecules in the universe or something, but I think I'll just say star, just to err on the side of caution. So nobody outs me as being, talking out my butt, because I don't script these. I'm just literally talking. It's my mouth I'm talking out of, but I never really know what I'm going to say when I sit down to do one of these. So Loki. Okay, that's fun. So he's going to have something to do with today's episode. The Norse god Loki. The mouth. Wasn't I just talking about the mouth? Source of divine utterances. River mouth. Got a few river mouths around here. We've got a lot of rivers here in Goa, and the ocean's right here, so the mouth of the river. And actually, I was toying with the idea of opening this with saying, at the ending of the night, at the limits of the light, Odin. See what I did there? But I thought that was too pre-planned, and I just literally wanted to jump in and start talking. So, and most people probably won't see what I did there, but the people who did, same pagey. Okay, so that's the rune, and one thing I started doing, usually accompanied by music and in silence, and it would take at least 17 minutes to get through. I'm going to try to get through it a little more quickly. This is my dad's old tarot deck that he used to teach me. Well, he bought me my own. It was my first, when I was I think I was 9 years old, went into Alexandria 2 in Pasadena, and I said, can I get a miniature weight? And they were like, a what? And I was like, can I please, I want to buy a miniature Rider weight deck. And they were like, what? And I was like, the little yellow one, the tarot deck. So I was a snotty little esoteric nerd from the time I was very young. And so anyway, I don't know, to see what my dad has to say. He passed away in 93, so I have to rely on extrasensory abilities to communicate with him. Let's see what he has to say about today's episode. Carl Jung, part 44. He's probably in a new life by now, but surely there's some aspect of him that still has some connection. So we'll see. He has this to say. So we'll stick that right up here. And let's see. The devil, I don't need to look this one up. Sometimes I doubt myself. I read tarot for years, but I like to use the book definition of these things. But the devil is basically, it's the path between Hod and Tiferet. So, and Ayin is the Hebrew letter corresponding to it. Ayin means I. And so I find it interesting that Hod is reason, or on a certain level, on the Bodha tree anyway. And Tiferet is the sun, and so you could think of Hod as like human intellect, and it can look at everything in creation, except for the sun. You'll go blind if you look at the sun, and the path connecting that mind to the sun to the Tiferet is the devil. And the devil is basically a chain that Adam and Eve, if you will, the two demonic figures in the left and right on the bottom, voluntarily pick up. In the weight deck, they're chained. But on the Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot, they're holding it. They're voluntarily submitting to the will of the Capricornian influence of the gross regenerative powers of nature. In other words, they want to experience a level of existence that requires them to limit themselves to living behind eyeballs. And so they have to participate in the gross regenerative powers of nature. Now, of course, back then, gross didn't mean ew, but it's fun. And so they enter into this relationship where they open their eyes, and then they are seeing everything. Far away, near, they covet. You've seen Silence of the Lambs. It's the devil. Who needs more information than that? But strictly speaking, it's not exactly like Satan. It's just kind of the devil. It's anyway. I don't know if there's any fundies watching. They'll have a lot of fun freaking out about this. All right, and then we'll consult the Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot, sort of a nod to my 2 decades in that system, that tradition, and see what Heru, the god of wisdom who sits upon or watches over the tarot, like the Sphinx over Egypt and all that good stuff, has to say about episode 44 of Carl Jung, the Queen of Wands. That's nice. So there's a middle-aged red-headed woman involved, or middle-aged, 40 and up. All right. Generally speaking. Actually, okay, for this one, I'll go ahead and consult the book. By the book, of course, I mean, this is the newer. There was an older one that was black. This is a good book, actually. If you're interested in book T, if you don't know what that is, then you're not interested in it, and that's fine. You don't need to be interested in it. But some people are a little bit obsessed with, I want book T. And I can tell you from 2 decades of experience in the tradition that this is the closest thing you're ever going to get to book T, is the Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot Handbook by Chicken Sandra Tabitha Cicero. All right, let's skip to when I find it. Editor Edward. The Queen of Wands. Wands, Queen of the Thrones of Flame. A crowned queen with long red hair, seated upon a throne with steady flames beneath. She wears a corselet and buskins of scale mail. Okay, let's skip the description. You can see her on the screen. Zoom in. That's what she looks like. Adaptability, steady force applied to an object. Steady rule, great attractive power. Power of command, yet liked, notwithstanding, kind and generous. You know, when you're a kid and everybody says something positive about all your classmates. And, oh, Michael, he's kind and generous, and David, he's kind and generous. Kind and generous when not opposed. If even the taxpayers can do as much. I mean, Jesus. Okay, you must love your enemies, right? No, if you're into that, if you're a masochist. If ill-dignified, obstinate, revengeful, domineering, tyrannical, and apt to turn suddenly against another without a cause, she rules the heavens from above the last decan of Pisces to above the 20th degree of Aries, including part of Andromeda. All right, we'll see how she factors in to the overall milieu of this episode. And this was the deck. This was my chosen deck when I was old enough to choose my own deck for doing tarot readings at parties. In other words, I was about 14. And it's the Celtic Tarot. I think there's probably like 10 tarot decks called the Celtic Tarot now, but this was the original as far as I know. Back then there was only one, the Celtic Tarot. And this is not the actual deck I used back then. I don't know what happened to that, but the cards would have been much more worn. This was a gift from Michael, Tree Michael. That's how we refer to you on here. And this, we'll just put this one right there, the Three of Pentacles. And that's got to do with balancing your checkbook and, all that good stuff. I'm, again, going to consult. Back then, what I would have done was just sort of gone with, like, okay, Binah on Earth, that's Saturn, and 3, and then I just would have kind of riffed, when I was doing the readings at parties, like so. I don't know. There's many approaches. I'm not going to go down the road of trying to teach you how to read tarot. It's just something fun that I like to do at the beginning of some Carl Jung episodes. Okay, so it's the one in the church. And there's this wide angle, this new tarot deck that it doesn't deliver to India, but I would love a copy. If somebody wants to buy this and send it to me, let me know. But yeah, it's like wide angle, so that's what they make it look like. But normally it looks like, it looks like this on the Rider-Waite. But this is for the Celtic Tarot. So let's see here. Material increase. Oh, good. The Master Craftsman, the skill. I think balancing your checkbook is 2 of Pentacles. I was a little off. The Skilled Artist, gain in a commercial transaction. This is the card for members of the Masons and other groups and societies. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So that has something to do with Carl Jung in this episode. And just for fun, we did it the first time, but then I've been leaving it out since the first time. I honestly have no clue how I ended up with the white. It's this Native American. I feel bad saying that because there are many nations in North, Central, and South America that existed before the white man came, or the Spanish, and then everyone else. So I don't know which tradition, maybe just sort of a conglomeration of all of them. But anyway, one day we got a package from Amazon, and it was this white eagle. I think Amazon accidentally sent it to us, but it was addressed to me, and I was like, all right, I guess I have this now. So I think it was something the gods wanted me to have. So this is like divinely ordained that I should put this card up on the screen. The snake, see that? So that's the snake. All right. And once again, Editor Edward, in the interest of time, would you skip to when I find it? The snake. Now, of course, it's always interesting looking at different cultures and how they interpret things as symbols because, from a Judeo-Christian standpoint, unless you're thinking of Nehushtan or the brass serpent or whatever, the snake is generally associated with the serpent in the Garden of Eden, which is Satan. Satan. Sorry. So let's see what the pan-Native American spiritual tarot cards have to say. Snake, rebirth, creative force, sexuality. I guess there's a little bit of overlap there with Scorpio. Remembrance of birth, forward, rearrange, shedding of skin, time of change. Okay, cool. And then just for fun, we're going to find out what magic item. So this perhaps is going to be something to do with, Dungeons and Dragons, magic items. Now, I'm not intending to imply that I'm lowering the status of the tarot to be on the level of D&D. I'm intending to imply that I'm elevating the status of perhaps what people might assume about D&D to the level of what people might assume about tarot. There's a lot of cards. I'm not going to shuffle all that, so I'm going to randomly choose this bit right in the middle of the one on the left. And take this many of them, cut it, and pull the one that's right here. All right, so we've got this. I'm going to put it here. And what is that? It's sovereign glue. Wow. All right. So somehow Carl Jung is going to need some sovereign glue. This viscous, milky white substance can form a permanent adhesive bond between any two objects. In order to fight the monster, he's not always fighting a monster, but just for fun. Abstractly thinking, the monster of the day is going to be one of these. And, I am always honest about the fact that I shuffle these. It's randomly chosen. But when I pulled this deck out of the box, I saw that the image that's on the cover was on the bottom of the deck, and I just can't resist. So today, this is the monster of the day. I did not shuffle that. It happened to be at the bottom of the deck when I picked it up, and so as random as that is how it's being chosen. Stick it right there. And it is Marilith. And let's put her up on the screen. And let's see, does it have any information whatsoever about her? Nope, not really. We just have a physical appearance and she's good with this and that, in the context of when you're the DM, it has all the stats. Bludgeoning, the tail is 9 feet, 9 plus 10 feet. Bludgeoning damage, if the target is medium or smaller, it is grappled. So somehow he's going to have to use glue to fight against this snake collie-looking lady. No offense intended to any, worshippers of collie in the audience. I too dabbled a bit as a teenager. Can do the old, So, okay. All right, that's enough time spent on that silliness. And now let's get to today's Carl Jung recital. I assume Editor Edward has been playing some music up until now and that it is now faded out. So, Editor Edward, if you would please play something else. All right, I fully don't know what he's playing, so hopefully he came up with something good. January 2nd, 1914. I strive toward those lowlands where the weak currents, flashing in broad mirrors, stream toward the sea, where all haste of flowing becomes more and more dampened, and where all power and all striving unites with the immeasurable extent of the sea. The trees become more sparse. Wide swamp meadows accompany the still, murky water. The horizon is unending and lonely, draped by gray clouds. Slowly, with stifled breath, and with the great and anxious expectation of one gliding downward wildly on the foam and pouring himself into endlessness, I follow my brother, the sea. It flows softly and almost imperceptibly, and yet we continually approach the supreme embrace, entering the womb of the source, the boundless expansion and immeasurable depths. Lower yellow hills rise there, stained with black and green bushes. A broad, dead lake widens at their feet. We wander along. Who's we? Who's your companion, Carl? We wander along the hills quietly, and they open up to a dusky, unspeakable, remote horizon, where the sky and the sea are fused into infinity. Someone is standing there on the last dune. He is wearing a black, wrinkled coat. He stands motionless and looks into the distance. I go up to him. He is pale and gaunt, with a deeply serious look in his eyes. I say to him, "Let me stand beside you for a while, Dark One. I recognized you from afar. There is only one who stands this way, so solitary and cross-out, and at the last corner of the world." Quote, this figure replies, "Stranger, you may well stand by me, if it is not too cold for you. As you can see, I am cold, and my heart has never beaten." End quote. I know. You are ice and the end. You are the cold silence of the stones. And you are the most extreme, cross out most extreme, highest snow on the mountains, and the most extreme frost of outer space. I feel this, and that's why I stand near you, says Carl. Quote, the thing that whose heart is never beaten replies, "What leads you here to me, you living matter? The living are never guests here. Well, they all flow past here in dense crowds, black with mourning bands. All that mourning like I'm sad because someone died, not mourning like the sunrise. Yeah. All those above in the land of the clear day who have taken their departure, never to return again. But the living never come here. What do you seek here?" End quote. "I seek to learn that I may serve." No, that's not what he said. "My strange and unexpected," this is Carl replying because it's not in quotes. "My strange and unexpected path led me here as I happily followed the way of the living stream, and thus I found you. I gather this is your place, and the rightful place?" Quote, "Yes, here it leads into the undifferentiable, where none is equal to the other, but all are one with one another. Do you see what approaches there?" End quote. This reminds me a little bit of... never mind. Okay. It's Twin Peaks Return. Twin Peaks Season 3. Technically, Twin Peaks Return Season 1 out of 1, but it's commonly referred to as Season 3. Okay. Sorry. Where was I? Those who saw the Gwydion reading the Meccan Revelation yesterday have already seen the evolution of the arm. Where was I? Okay. Yeah, right. I see something like a dark, misty shroud swimming slowly toward us on the tide. Quote, "Look more closely. What do you recognize?" End quote. I'm doing the voice to make it easy to determine who's Carl Jung and who's the other guy. So, I don't know how. I'll keep reading. I see densely pressed human multitudes, the old, men and women, and countless children. Between them I see horses, oxen, and smaller animals. A cloud of insects swarms around the multitude. A forest swims near. Innumerable faded flowers, an utterly dead summer. They are already near. How stiff and cool they all look. Now, the look is first written with a capital L, and then that's crossed out, and then it's written again with a lowercase l. I don't know if that's... Their feet do not move. No noise sounds from their closed ranks. They are clasping themselves rigidly with their hands and arms. They are gazing beyond and pay us no heed. They are all flowing past in an enormous stream. Dark One, this vision is awful. Quote, "You wanted to stay by me, so get hold of yourself. Look." I see. The first rows have reached the point where the surf and the stream flow together violently, and it looks as if a wave of air were confronting the stream of the dead together with the surging sea, whirling them up high, scattering them in black scraps and dissolving them in murky clouds of mist. Wave after wave approaches, and ever new droves dissolve into murky air. Dark One, tell me, is this the end? This is the end. Quote, "Look," end quote. The dark sea breaks heavily. A reddish glow spreads out in it. It is like blood. A sea of blood foams at our feet. The depths of the sea glow. How strange I feel. Am I suspended by my feet? Is it the sea or is it the sky? Blood and fire mix themselves together in a ball. Red light erupts from its smoky shroud. A new sun escapes blazing from the bloody sea and rolls gleamingly toward the uttermost depths. It disappears under my feet. I look around me. I am alone. Night has fallen. What did Ammonius say? Night is the time of silence. Some of these are longer than others. I was honestly expecting this to be one of those hour-long episodes, but that was his adventure on the 2nd of January of 1914. And rather than start into what he did, I don't know, the next day or the day after that, let's just sit with that experience with Carl Jung, hang out with it as he did. I don't know. I got shades of the snake and the devil in the way that I described it, not in the, the typical. There's always the exoteric interpretation of this is this, but the esoteric is this. So I gave you the esoteric description. So yeah, that boundary line between people who are incarnated and people who aren't kind of implies that the realm of that space of the folks who are going out of the material life form existence and into the formlessness of non-corporeal existence. So there's that, and the snake, and a little bit of the redhead queen. Let's put them all back up. So there was that, and then the gain. He gained, maybe, I don't know, the 3 of swords, or the 3 of pentacles. Less so. This lady, and the glue. I don't know. The glue, his tool that he can use to help put it all together, this magical glue. Well, we've got something to contemplate here. I like the Carl Jung segment on chicken philosophy, sometimes more than pretty much all of the others. Although, I should mention that we have finally, after five episodes in, or however many episodes it took, we've actually finished reading the introductions by the German and Swiss guy in the 1930s of The Secret of the Golden Flower. So the next episode, keep an eye out. I think that'll be me? Yeah. I think just by virtue of how the rotation goes. The next time you see me in this outfit, I'll be reading the actual translation of the Chinese Taoist alchemist text into English without any 1930s Germans on the side going, "Oh, this reminds me of what you came up with in a dream, doesn't it, Carl?" Obviously, we're reading this, we're interested in those things, but when we're reading the translation of the Taoist alchemical text, I'm less interested in what their interpretation of it is, and more interested in what it says, more interested in finding my own at least interpretation of it. I don't know about you, but anyway, all right, well, I hope everybody enjoyed today's Carl Jung recital, and I hope that you have a wonderful week, month, year, and anything else? I feel like I might be forgetting something. Do check out the recent episodes. They are what they are. I don't know. But I feel just on a human animal level, I walked up hills. I was sweating, going here, going there. Google Map didn't know what it was talking about, and so I was turning left, going right, and then finding the right angle to read the Teilhard de Chardin or the Martin Luther in front of a local Roman Catholic or Protestant church there, respectively. So I did. It's one of those things. They say kill your darlings in editing. And the director shouldn't be the editor because and I don't know, I don't know if that's true, but in that book, Blink or whatever, it's not called Blink, it's called In the Blink of an Eye, a book on editing. Anyway, that the director will have all kinds of personal, we spent 3 days trying to get this, scene just right, where the editor will be like, doesn't fit, no, we're not going to use it. Where if the director is the editor, he'll come from a place of emotional attachment and include it and make the movie too long and it won't be good. I mean, at least that's according to the author of that book. So perhaps it's a case of that where those episodes just aren't good. But since I literally put 2 weeks of work into them, off and on, we were on vacation, so I wasn't working the whole time, but I'd be okay, I'll be back. It's time for my mission, and I'd go out for an hour and a half and come back having recorded parts of that Teilhard de Chardin episode and the Martin Luther episode, which I'll go ahead and put up on the screen here. You can pick one. You got your Roman Catholic, you got your Martin Luther down here, and those are the ones that Edward, which is me without this outfit, shot up in Shillong a couple weeks ago. So I hope you pick one, and if not, then it's okay. I don't mind. And I will go ahead and bid you up.